Good evening, my dear adventurer. It's Yisselda, and you've found the Cosy Chocobo, my little corner of fantasy sleep stories to escape from the waking world. Tonight we touch on the lore of the Eternal Champion, a fantasy series written by Michael Moorcock, first published in the 1960s. We will look at one of the most well-known characters of the series, Elric of Melniboné, whose story and character likely served as heavy inspiration for Geralt of Rivia, of the much more recent and popular The Witcher novels and video games. Much like the Warrior of Light is to the Final Fantasy series, the Eternal Champion serves the same role for this universe, or multiverse, I might say. And if you are a fan of the artwork of Final Fantasy, it will please you to know that Yoshitaka Amano designed beautiful cover art for the Orion publications in the early 90s. And if you like this video, I invite you to like and subscribe for more sleepy tales from my favourite universes of video games and fantasy. But for now, find a cozy and comfortable spot. Relax your shoulders and let your breath soften. Feel a wave of warmth wash over you as you close your eyes and let the journey begin. In the multiverse weaved by Michael Moorcock in his epic fantasy series, The Eternal Champion, there are more worlds than stars in the sky, more realities than grains of sand along the shore, and in each of them, stories unfold. Kingdoms rise, empires fall, and people dream beneath an ever-changing sky. But behind the curtain of all these worlds lies a deeper truth, one of purpose and of balance. This is the tale of the Eternal Champion. The Eternal Champion is not a single man, woman, or creature. He is not bound by time or flesh. He is a soul, a presence, an echo. Across the vast fabric of the multiverse, this champion is born again and again, in countless forms in each universe. Each incarnation bears its own name, its own destiny. Elric, Corum, Hawkmoon, Von Beck. Some know their fate, but most do not. All are drawn to the same burden, the preservation of the balance. In this multiverse, there is no war between good and evil, no clear light or shadow. Instead, there are two forces, law and chaos. Law brings order, structure, and permanence, but unchecked, it becomes stagnation, oppression, the death of change. Chaos brings freedom, unpredictability, creation, but unchained, it consumes, devours, unravels. Neither is villainous, and neither is pure. They are equal and eternal, and between them, there must be balance. That is the champion's role. The Eternal Champion, the appointed paladin of balance, not by choice, but as a necessity to an unseen force. When the balance tilts too far, when the world begins to tremble under too much order, or spiral into madness under too much chaos, the Eternal Champion awakens. He may not know his purpose. He may resist it, resent it, and for all his might, will struggle against it. But the pool is inescapable. It flows through his blood and coils around his fate like a snake around its prey. Sooner or later, he will be drawn to his duty. And when he is, the world will change. Sometimes the champion arrives as a knight in shining armor, adored and celebrated. Other times, he is in exile, shunned and cursed, his name whispered in fear. Often he is both. His path is rarely kind. Those who walk it do so alone, as it is often that his companions are not by his side over long. Across many of these incarnations, there is a common element, a weapon. Not merely a sword, but a presence, a will, a hunger. Known by many names, but often referred to as the Black Sword, it is a sentient weapon aligned with chaos. It chooses the hand it serves. It whispers and feeds, and it binds itself to the champion like a parasite does a host. Stormbringer, Mournblade, the Dragon Sword. They are but a few of these weapons. They bring victory, yes, but they demand sacrifice. The champion then is more than a warrior. He is a paradox. He fights for balance, but his tools bring imbalance. He seeks peace, but conflict reigns around him. He carries immense power, yet lives in sorrow. Victory brings him no comfort, and even when he succeeds, his work is never done, because the balance is not a final state. It is not something won and preserved forever. It is an eternal struggle, across time, across worlds, across the weave of reality itself. And so he returns again and again. A flicker of memory in each life, a shadow in the mind, a strange familiarity with a place he's never been. The eternal champion knows loss in every tongue, in every form. He is betrayed, he is broken, but he endures, because the balance must be kept. Elric of Melniboné is one such incarnation. His world is unlike ours. Once, his people ruled over all others. The Melnibonéans were ancient, strange, and inhuman, descended from a race called the Eldrin, who wandered the multiverse with dragons at their side. Some say they came from a jungle city far to the west and bartered their homeland for the favor of a god. Others claim they were stranded in a forgotten dimension, surviving by mating with mortals, their bloodline reshaped by the bitterness of exile and the magic of dragons. However it came to be, they journeyed to Melniboné, an island of soaring cliffs, sleeping dragons, and strange beauty. And there they built Imre the Beautiful, the dreaming city. For 10,000 years, the Melnibonéans ruled the world from Imre, aided by ancient magics, dragons, and their patron god, Arioch, Lord of Chaos, and Duke of Hell. They were brilliant, cruel, and decadent. Their sorcerers could summon demons with a whisper. Their ships were floating fortresses, their multicolored towers carved from coral and bone. But as centuries passed, they turned inward, not from weakness, but from apathy and complacence. The world changed without them, and though their dominion crumbled, Imre endured, glittering like a wound beneath the pale moon. It was into this fading empire that Elric was born. He was unlike the others, thin, frail, with white hair and crimson eyes, sustained only by sorcery and alchemical potions. A philosopher in a world of conquerors. A reader of books where others wielded blades. And though he inherited the ruby throne, he felt he never truly belonged to it. Surrounded by cruelty, decay, and ambition, his heart sought something gentler, something more human. His cousin Yurkun, stronger and more cunning, coveted the throne and despised Elric's weakness. His beloved Cimmeril, Yurkun's sister, was caught between them. To survive, Elric made a pact. He took up Stormbringer, a black sword unlike any other, sentient, hungry, and bound to chaos. The blade gave him strength by consuming the souls of those it slew. With Stormbringer, Elric could fight, command, and endure. But its price was steep. It took without mercy and without discrimination between friend or foe. It whispered in his thoughts and turned every victory bitter. And in the end, it took everything. Elric left the throne, hoping to better understand the world of men. In his absence, Yurkun seized power and cast Cimmeril into a magical sleep. Elric returned to Imre, not as an emperor, but as an outcast, and led an invading force into the city of his birth. The dreaming city burned, its towers toppled, its dragons woke in rage, and Imre sank into memory. Elric's story is one of tragedy, not because he was evil, but because he was torn. Torn between what he was and what he wished to be, between the love he bore and the power he held, between the legacy of Melniboné and the yearning for something more gentle. He walked the line between chaos and law more closely than most, and in the end, like all champions, he served the balance, not because he wished to, but because it was his fate. And so now, in this tale I'm about to share, we find Elric in a moment of rest. He has laid down his sword for a time. He watches the sea and wonders if peace is possible, even for one such as him. Far from war, far from the ruby throne, he sits quietly beside a fire at the edge of the sea, where strange stars gleam in a sky that does not turn. It is here that his dream begins. The tide curls gently along the grey shore, foaming against the dark, wet sand, as if whispering secrets to the land in a quiet, unknown tongue. The sky above is a midnight blue, its stars cold and unblinking, scattered like runes across the heavens. The wind moves slowly here, as though reluctant to disturb the peace that blankets this place. This is the edge of the world, or close enough, where few dare wander, and even fewer return. Elric of Melniboné sits alone beside a dwindling fire, its pale flames licking at salt-stained driftwood. The fire crackles softly, the only warmth in this desolate cove, its light glancing across the bone-pale, almost translucent skin of his tired face. His sword, Stormbringer, lies half buried in the sand, silent for now, its black blade catching the firelight with a dull, hungry gleam. He is wrapped in a deep green cloak, shoulders hunched against the breeze, though he feels a little cold. His crimson eyes, sharp and weary, stare into the flames as though lost in its gentle dance. In his pale hand, he holds a silver locket, worn smooth with years of touch. Inside is the miniature painting of a woman with raven dark hair and eyes that seem too kind for the world she lived in. He turns the locket slowly in his fingers. "Cimmeril," he says, so softly the sea might not hear it. His heart aches. Beside him, Stormbringer hums, as if it understands his every thought. The fire pops. Sparks lift into the dark. Elric leans back on his elbows, eyes lifting to the sky. Constellations he once knew by name drift above him, changed now by time or perspective. He no longer charts them. He no longer tries. "Will the sea take my sins?" he murmurs to no one. "Or must I carry them to the end?" Neither the sea nor the wind offers an answer. The sea of souls stretches before him, calm and endless, its waters luminous in a way that seemed to have nothing to do with moonlight. It is said the sea remembers, that it holds the dreams of those it has claimed, that, if you listen long enough, you might hear your own voice calling back from its depths. Elric closes his eyes. The fire hisses. The sword hums faintly. The tide slips closer. And at last, he drifts into sleep. In sleep, the world fades. The wind stills. The sea forgets its voice. And Elric begins to dream. He stands now within a vast tower made not of stone or iron, but of something stranger. A spiraling lattice of ruby crystal, black obsidian, and bone ivory that shimmers with its own dim light. The air here carries no scent, no breath, only a heavy stillness that sits low against the gleaming floor. The stairs beneath his feet are smooth and translucent, their edges glinting. The silence is not empty, it is sacred, thick with the weight of memories kept hidden and buried inside him for far too long. The tower seems as if it is a life force on its own. It pulses faintly around him, as though it draws breath between heartbeats. Light filters in from an unknown source, casting long shadows along the crystalline stairwell. The sound of his own steps is muffled, almost reverent, as he ascends. Each landing offers a vision, a memory, moments drawn from a deep well of thought and sorrow, and they return to him as he dreams. On the first landing, he sees Cimmeril. Not the sleeping figure held in enchanted stasis, not the broken form Stormbringer left behind, but Cimmeril happy, laughing, barefoot in the garden at the heart of Imre. She moves among the weeping flowers and the gold-green trees that bloom once every 100 years, her long green velvet gown flowing gently behind her. Her eyes meet his across this crystal plain, frozen between space and time, and his chest tightens, a sensation of joy wrapped in grief and longing. He watches, knowing this moment will end, and continues to climb before it can. The next landing offers the ruby throne, immense and terrible, carved from fused bones and black stone. He sees himself seated upon it, robed in authority, surrounded by courtiers who bow and whisper and plot. His crown gleams golden, a symbol of cruelty, but feels heavy even now. He remembers this moment, the weight of power, the futility of his reign, the stubborn apathy that answered every attempt at change. Elric looks away. He climbs again. Smoke stings his eyes as a battlefield unfolds beneath his feet. Bodies lie broken across the field, armor twisted, banners burning. He grips Stormbringer tightly, white-knuckled, as the sword's song rises in ecstatic hunger. A friend lies dying at his feet, reaching toward him with pleading eyes. Elric's own voice echoes from the past, calling out in vain. The sword feasted that day on enemies and comrades alike, and with each soul it took, Elric grew stronger. The stairs narrow. Around him, mirrored walls rise, reflecting countless versions of himself. Emperor, outcast, savior, destroyer. Some walk proud, others crawl in chains. All are bound to the same fate. All are alone. And then, as he continues on, the summit appears. Above him is an endless void, black and deep, studded with stars like pinpricks in velvet. Before him, an altar floats, pale and simple, inscribed with runes he cannot read, but somehow understands. Upon it lies no crown, no weapon, only a stillness so complete it hums through the marrow of his bones. It is peace, a presence he has not felt for a very long time. He steps forward and stretches out his pale hand, and at his hip, Stormbringer stirs. Elric feels its longing pull, hears its whisper in his ear, and in the pit of his being, a deep, almost painful hunger. You are mine. You will always be mine. He hesitates. The altar dims, the void trembles, and the tower begins to tumble as if in slow motion. The dream collapses slowly, an unraveling that is gentle, like frost melting in the morning sun. Elric falls through the space, through his very self, through memory, silence, and grief. And he wakes, cold and aching, with the sea sighing softly at his feet and the hard sand beneath him. A soft rhythmic pulse of light stirs upon the surface of the water. Not the simple glint of moonlight. It is something far more mysterious and strange. The light, steady and deliberate, rises and falls upon the sea like the heartbeat of the world itself. It glows far brighter than any reflection of the pale sleeping moon above, which casts long ribbons of silver and blue across the restless waves that tumble toward the shore, where Elric now stands on the dark, damp sand. His silhouette is long and slender beneath the star-dappled sky. His silver-white hair tumbles over his shoulders, rippling in the salty breeze that whispers from across the tide. His cloak hangs from his shoulders, its edge stirring softly about his boots. His crimson eyes are half-lidded, distant, watching, remembering. The dream has not yet fully left him. The hush of the crystal tower still clings to his limbs like cobwebs, and the phantom weight of the altar, that strange stillness of peace, still tingles faintly in the center of his palm. But the sand beneath his boots is solid now. The cold wind carries the scent of salt and stars, and the sea, vast and ancient, breathes gently before him. This is no longer a dream. He is quite certain of that. On the sea's horizon, that pulsing light draws nearer. Its rhythm does not change. It pulses like a memory returning from a life once lived. And slowly, trailing behind it, a ship begins to emerge from a veil of sea mist. It glides without sound. No sail flutters. No oar dips into the water. It moves with a solemn grace, untouched by wind or wave. Its great ivory sails rise like the wings of a sleeping swan, bathed in soft luminance. The hull beneath them is smooth, bone pale, gently curved, as if carved from the ribs of some long-dead leviathan whose name was forgotten before men learned to speak. Closer it comes, and closer still. No crew walks its deck. No standard proclaims its allegiance. The lanterns that hang along its rails burn with a cold inner light, not fire, but memory made visible, pale rings of silver and blue flickering upon the surface of the sea. They shimmer and vanish like echoes. Elric does not move. He does not call out. He merely watches, with the patience of one who has seen stranger things before him and suffered them. When the ship has drawn near enough that the curve of its bow looms high before him, it begins to slow. A gangplank lowers, carved from dark wood, every slat engraved with symbols he cannot name, but somehow understands. There is no sound, only the hush of the water lapping on the shore. Still silent, Elric sheathes Stormbringer at his side. The sword hums once, low and cold, as if aware of what awaits aboard. He steps lightly onto the gangplank. His boots touch the wood, and a strange soft warmth begins to radiate beneath him, into his feet, and up into his body. He walks, slow and steady, and when both his feet meet the deck, the gangplank withdraws behind him. Without wind, without sail, the ship turns. It moves again, this time away from the shore, gliding back out into the sea of souls. Elric does not turn to look at the land he has left. He steps forward now across the great expanse of the deck, the hush surrounding him so complete it's as if the world has ceased to breathe. The boards beneath his feet are black-stained and smooth, unmarred by time or tide, and then he sees them, statues. Dozens of them, perhaps more, silent, unmoving, arranged in 2 solemn rows down either side of the ship. They are not decorative. They are not stone. Each one holds the shape of a god, or what a god once was. Broken, strange, and beautiful. Some tower with wings curled protectively around their forms. Others kneel, their faces hidden beneath hoods or veils. A few are eyeless. Many are crowned. One clutches an hourglass. Another weeps a stream of petrified tears that vanish before they fall. They line the path before him like mourners at an eternal procession. Elric walks between them slowly, reverently. Their presence presses in on him, not in menace but in memory. These were not gods of this world, perhaps not of any world that still survives, but he feels them, their shape, their silence, their faded grandeur, the way their names have been forgotten, not from malice, but from the long erosion of time. The air here is thick with the scent of incense and cold metal, with dream and prayer, with endings. At the far end of the ship, beyond the silent sentinels, something gleams. Among the rows of silent gods, one figure stands apart. It is smaller than the rest, neither grand nor grotesque, humble in form, robed in folds of stone that fall like water. It bears no face, no eyes, no mouth, nor crown. Only a stillness, vast and old. Its arms are outstretched, palms open as though offering a gift it does not name. Beneath its feet, etched into the smooth deck in faint, withered script, is a single line of text. The god of forgotten things. No wind stirs, no light shifts, and yet something speaks, not aloud. The voice comes as a vibration, gentle and deep, threading into Elric's bones like a song he once knew but forgot how to sing. It moves through the air, through the ship, and through him. You are far from home, Elric of the Ruby Throne. He does not flinch. He has heard stranger voices. He has spoken with things that dwell outside time. And he knows, somehow, that to this one he must not lie. I have no home, he replies softly, his voice quiet in the hush, as though not wishing to disturb the sleeping statues around him. The voice answers as though it has spoken to many like him before and seen them all pass beneath its gaze. You carry memory like a wound, it says. You wield a blade that devours all it touches. You seek peace, but walk with ruin in your shadow. Elric lowers his gaze. He does not speak right away. When he does, it is with the quiet pain of truth. I did not choose the blade. There is a pause, long and filled with the soundless creak of time. But you choose it still, the god replies. Every day. Around them, the air thickens. The lanterns that line the ship flicker, their cold light trembling like candle flames in a storm. The statues seem to lean inward, just slightly, not moving but somehow closer. their unblinking forms watching. The faceless god lifts its hands. Between them something stirs. It is a feather, pale as starlight, delicate as the most delicate flower. It floats above the god's open palms and hovers there, waiting. "Take it," the voice says. "Cast the sword into the sea. Walk away. There is still a path unmarked by blood." Elric does not answer. He steps forward slowly. His boots make no sound on the planks. His hand rises, ungloved, trembling only slightly as he reaches toward the feather. It is beautiful, so light it seems the next breeze might carry it away forever. The glow of it reflects faintly in his crimson eyes. His fingertips brush upon it. For a moment, just a moment, he feels it. Cool, soft, impossibly light. A memory never lived. And then another voice. Not the god's, not Stormbringer's, but hers. Cimmeril. He hears her laughter, not the final sound she made, not the scream or silence of death, but the sound of her alive, laughing, somewhere warm, somewhere safe, a night in a garden, her eyes alight with mischief, her hair caught in the wind. He sees her in the moonlight, turning to him, smiling as she once was, as she will never be again. The pain of her memory aches within his chest. His hand wavers and he pulls back. The feather vanishes. The god says nothing more. And the ship begins to dissolve. The statues turn grey. They crack and crumble. One by one, they vanish into ash, caught in a wind Elric cannot feel until he stands alone on the deck. Then, the deck is gone. The sea is quiet. The fire is ash. And far on the horizon, dawn is blooming at the edge of the world. The sea no longer glows. The ship is gone, and the gods with it. Whatever passed upon that phantom deck has faded like breath on a mirror. Only the hush remains, the soft hush of morning as it rises from the edge of the world. Elric stands once more on the shore, the soles of his boots sunk slightly into the sand, as though the land itself is reluctant to let him go. His cloak hangs heavy with sea mist, edges frayed, the threads catching the faint breeze like tattered sails. Around him, the world feels thin, as if something holy has just exhaled, and all that remains is silence. The embers of his fire have cooled to grey ash, ringed by stones blackened and cracked from the long night. The scent of smoke still lingers faintly in the air, mingling with brine and the ghost of burnt kelp. Above, the sky begins its slow unravelling. The stars recede like scattered thoughts, pooling back into the velvet folds of the heavens. Constellations he does not know, ones that may never return, flicker once more and vanish. The light that comes is not golden, but washed in pearl and frost, a soft bloom that rolls over the sea's horizon and brushes the tips of the tide with reluctant clarity. The water, once glowing with secrets, is now slate grey, shifting gently like the breath of something enormous and unseen. He kneels beside the fire pit, fingertips sifting through the sand and charcoal. The earth is cold. It clings to his skin, and there, caught between two stones, something glints, delicate, narrow, and perfect. A feather. No bird could have dropped it here. It gleams with its own light against his pale fingertips, glinting a pale blue in his eyes. He lifts it into his palm. He does not speak. A question echoes in him. What if I had let it go? He places the feather carefully within the lining of his cloak, tucking it beside a sealed letter, a shard of crystal, and other fragments of the life he no longer lives. Stormbringer lies nearby in the sand, black and beautiful. Its hilt catches the morning light, but casts no shadow. Though the blade is quiet, Elric can feel its awareness, a faint hum beneath the world, as if the sword dreams in its own way. He studies the sea. Beyond the soft curve of the horizon, where sky meets water in a seamless hush, his thoughts drift. To Cimmeril, to Imrare, to the tower that rose in dream, to the god who spoke without eyes. He wonders if the sea remembers them all, if its depths are littered with stories too heavy to float. His breath forms misty clouds that catch in the air, the wind carrying them gently out to sea. At last he rises, joints aching, muscles reluctant. There is a heaviness in his chest, an aching emptiness that was once filled with fear and sorrow. He turns. The fire is behind him. The sword follows. The feather remains hidden, close to his heart. And he walks, not toward destiny, not toward any end, but simply onward into the pale unfolding of the day.